All right, everyone, it's time for the inaugural test tour here, actually. I am using Streamyard. Ramsey Paul recommended it. It does seem to work. I got a test stream actually with him a few minutes ago working. I'm just basically testing the functionality right now. So there's nothing exactly, there's no topic to this particular video. I'm just sort of mouthing off for a few minutes while I test things out. It is good to see that chat works. And actually, if I go in, if you'll give me a minute, I'm going to try to go into the actual live stream settings and see if I can't retroactively set slow chat. Because if I'm doing an election live stream, there might be 20, 30,000 people live watching. It's going to take a little bit of effort otherwise. So let me actually go back here to my videos. YouTube has split everything apart. It's made everything 10 times crazier than it used to be. I think I can retroactively add those details. I'm not looking at chat, by the way, at the moment, so bear with me a moment. Let's see. Category entertainment. Put on category comedy for this particular live stream. Okay, you can retroactively enable slow mode. Prepare for a message slowdown. All you spammers, you're going to have to deal with it. 120-second cooldown. Now, we see if that actually is taken. I'm going to refresh this, but I'm still on StreamYard. It's funny because StreamYard, Streamlabs, they sort of run together. I get them mixed up. So keep in mind, you can only post one comment every other minute right now. So, you know, make them count. Make them quality comments. I got 500 people watching already, and this is just a bullshit test stream. So keep that in mind for the election. You better be tuning in, by the way. You know, half of you will be sober, the other half less so. You'll be more like Hunter Biden, I suppose. Hello from Japan, Exorcism 2020. This is a high-quality comment. Would you ever move back to the U.S.? Will you stream like 2016? Smash the like. Hi from Texas. I mean, I put it on slow mode for 120 seconds. I still can't keep up because there's so many of you. By the way, on election night, we have to clank on the Young Turks whether Trump wins or loses. Officially, though, I do expect Trump to win. I will be doing my final election projection tomorrow, as well as my final appeal to voters. If any of you are U.S. citizens eligible to vote, and you have not voted yet, even if you are in a state that is technically out of reach of one or the other candidate, like you're in Wyoming, Trump will get it. You're in California, Biden will get it. Please vote. It is, I hate to be hyperbolic, but it is the most important election of our lifetime. And I'm not just saying that because I saved $5,000 or so in taxes because Trump happens to exist. I don't want a Great Depression. I like growing leeks. I like growing cabbages, but I like to do that for sport. I'm not interested in doing that because I have to survive. By the way, I have contacted multiple other people. Now that this is way easier than any other alternative that I've seen, by the way, StreamYard is great. I think BitChute is working on an alternative. Once that's fleshed out, I will be using it. Until then, this is definitely it. This is way easier than the other alternatives where you have to go into like 5 different pages. You put in a live stream key. You give it permission. You fill everything out. You go through 10 pages of paperwork or something. Oh, my God. YouTube used to have the perfect system. They had a monopoly on multi-person live streaming, and they pissed it away because they're insane. But anyway, this will be a fairly short stream, maybe 10 more minutes or so. I just want to mouth off a little bit. But yes, please go vote. There is only 36 hours left. It is important, ultimately. The fate of the Western world kind of does ride on the election. We can either lock everything down and cause a depression, or we can move forward, be reasonable, mature, adult individuals, be like Trump and say, we've got to get back to business. We don't have another choice. That's just the way that it works. Someone has to plow the fields. Someone has to smelt the iron. Someone has to drive the rivets. Somebody has to file the paperwork. That's just the way that it is. Yeah. I voted already Trump in Florida. By the way, I would love to do super chats. Actually, that is something I've decided that in the future, against my best interest, potentially super chats may occasionally be enabled. The problem is that the AdSense account that I initially was going to set up, and I decided to abandon it because I don't want ad revenue. Then I realized, of course, you can take an AdSense account without actually enabling ads, which I have sworn off completely. The problem with doing that is that if I resubmit it, it gives an error. I don't exactly know how to proceed, but that's Google anyway. Yeah. It's funny, Jake Wolf there, stick streaming? What a legend. I've actually streamed before. I streamed during the last election. There were something like, 25,000 people watching live, I think. But I'm going to do the best that I can. Keep in mind, of course, I have to monitor chat. I will be trying to bring guests on. I have asked multiple individuals. I won't name them. Several of them are the same as in the 2016 election when I had half a dozen guests aboard. A few of these individuals did not come aboard then. I've asked them now. A couple have confirmed. A couple of them I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to re-query them today. But now that I've got this working, this is great. This is basically like take 2 extra steps and you've got the Google Hangouts of 2018. This is pretty good, honestly. BitChute, I'm putting the pressure on Vahi. I want you to make the BitChute version even easier. That's what I want. You can sync it up. Probably you can sync it up with Twitter and these other sites. God, there's 1,500 people watching live, and this is just basically a joke stream. That gives you an element of an idea of the power of clankdom. I'm going to have to slow it down more than 120, I think, on election night. Like if 1,500 people are going at this speed, I'll probably have to do like 300 seconds as a cooldown. I think last time I only did 60 seconds on the 2016 stream. And I think I did that the same on the midterm stream, and it generally worked. Jesus, I think I'm going to have to do more than that. Sticks texting him or say the Nice word, Islamofascism. I don't know. Oh, spicy vegan snacks. They're delicious, by the way. They got huge amounts of cilantro in them. I'm not a vegan, but you know, vegan food, vegetarian food, it forces you to use something other than melted flesh in order to get the flavor. Will you wear a MAGA hat? I actually do have one. A subscriber sent me some stuff, including a MAGA hat, but it's in Rutland. And obviously there's no way to get it here early. But I am glad that I will be able to, presumably, if I can hammer out a schedule in the next 24 hours, I'll be able to have guests aboard. My plan is to do, for the live stream on the 3rd, my plan is to do 2 slots, 1 hour apiece. What I'll do is I'll have 15 minutes of guest 1, 15 minutes guest 2, a half an hour of me analyzing, and then I'll repeat that. At the end of that, if we don't really know the trajectory of the election, I'll be able to extrapolate from the early states. If we don't have any extrapolation from that, though, if it's very close, Florida's an even Stevens 50-50 thing. In Ohio, it looks like Trump's just 0.5 ahead or something. I'll probably extend it an additional hour. But I've already got a couple of Red Bulls for that eventuality. So no worries, I'll be able to pound myself with chemicals and I'll be able to go. It'd be funny. I could probably, with this program, I think I could probably bring in a 3rd stream here. I could probably like game on Streamyard, which is hysterical. And the funny part is that there's like a picture of a duck with earphones on, and that's apparently their logo. It is kind of funny. It's better than Streamlabs. Don't they censor people? Most of these third-party softwares, they'll kick you off if you say the wrong thing, I think. I'm just looking at chat at the moment, just so people know. Marathon stream for 2 weeks while they riot and count votes. Yeah, exactly. I'll have to inject myself with liquefied methamphetamine for at least a week or something to cover it. Here's the thing, and this is another thing that I will be talking about tomorrow on my final predictions. I will be making sort of the final predictions, final pitch to people why to vote for Trump, and I need all of your help. I need you to share that out to any undecided relatives or friends that you have. Let me try to make the case to them. It could be tens of thousands of people based on the audience we're seeing. That is not insignificant in the United States. Keep this in mind. At the end of the night, it all comes down to turnout. If turnout is equivalent, Trump will lose. I hate to tell you this. He will lose half a dozen of the competitive states, and he will lose the election. My ongoing belief, though, is that he will outperform the polls because of a turnout differential. Part of that is due to enthusiasm in party as well as matchup with Biden. Those have both been polled. Part of it is due to the fact that the states generally being defended typically are red. They, I believe, will lean Republican in the partisan sense, even if Trump is not necessarily greatly liked in some of these states, like Ohio or Arizona or something. But that's a gut feeling. I can't be sure. That's why I give Trump an 80% chance of being reelected. I hope he is. It's not the end of the world if he's not. Some people are being hyperbolic and saying the Republic will fall if Trump's not reelected. No, that's not the case. But why would you want any form of pain, any form of detriment to your republic, to your nation, to yourself? Because most of you will feel that if Biden is elected. That's just the way that it is. It's not the end of the world. But why would you? I mean, even if it's like saying, well, I'm not asking you to shoot yourself in the face. I'm only asking you to stab yourself in the foot or cut off a couple of your fingers. Why would you want to do that? You can survive it. You know, you won't even, after a year or something, you won't even notice the difference. But why would you want to cut off your pinky fingers or stab yourself in the foot for no reason when you don't have to? The alternative is you don't do these things. And that's what I would say to people. But I will need your help tomorrow with my uploads. Consider tomorrow's uploads, because it's the day before the election, the most important uploads of the last 4 years since the 2016 election. I will need a lot of help to get those out. YouTube is algorithmically throttling me. That much is clear. I believe I still have, and I'll check this just for continuity's sake. I believe I still have a couple of videos on there that haven't processed to HD. Now, I uploaded these in 1080p, 1080 with 60 FPS. Yes, indeed. The other day's videos, the one I can't pronounce, which was Biden slipping into incoherence, and the NBC News debunking article from yesterday, those still are in SD only. They're in 360. YouTube has never done that before. This is the first time in history since it had HD compatibility at all, which was, I think, 2009, 2010. This is the first time in the better part of a decade that they've done this. It is not a coincidence that it corresponds with the election. I hate to say it, but only a moron would think that. Yeah. Someone asking me which polls I look at. All of them. I look at the aggregate. But you've got to understand, even the aggregate, if you have rigged polls, if you have cherry-picked polls, if you have polls that have been stacked as far as the sampling goes, those aren't necessarily reliable. And I do happen to think, yes, I do believe the polls are off. In 2016, in the battleground polls, there was an average swing of almost 6 points. Now, if you swing the battleground polls 6 points right now, Trump runs away with it. He wins all the states, I think, other than Wisconsin, that he had the last time around. He's competitive in Minnesota. He would crush Biden. I'm not counting on that. I think Biden will be closer than Hillary. The funny part is, like, this does show a decline in support for Trump overall, because remember, Joe Biden overall is kind of a boring dude, but he's not as disliked as Hillary. There's no visceral hate of him among independent voters like there was for Hillary. If Trump comes in therefore behind, there is a decline in support. It's just a matter of how much that decline is, where it is, the differential turnout among hardcore Trump fans. In party, Trump has support that's higher than first-term Ronald Reagan. He has support that goes beyond Ronald Reagan. If he wins a second term, he'll be the next Reagan. And he knows this. That's why he's fighting so hard. That's why I think he's got 3-4 appearances just today, another 3 or 4 tomorrow. He's outflanking Biden 3-1 in most of these states. That will drive, I believe, turnout higher as well. By the way, actually, because I've got this on the Alienware, I should probably zoom this in for chat because I can barely read that. You got this little tiny area here that actually has the comments in it. And I can barely keep up. There's almost 3,000 people watching a test stream. Just think about what it'll be like on election night. It's going to be insane. Yeah, Boomer Sticks got streaming to work. You should all follow Ramsey Paul, both on YouTube and on BitChute. His stuff is all on BitChute. Unfortunately, he got a strike. He can't stream at the moment on YouTube because of shenanigans related to the virus that shall not be named. Follow him on BitChute. Probably should put a link in the description. Maybe I'll do a test stream tomorrow and I'll shout a bunch of people out. We'll see what happens. Yeah, there's 3,000 people watching a test stream. Jesus Christ. Also, by the way, I keep seeing these hyperbolic maps that show like Trump taking California, Trump sweeps New Hampshire and Maine, Trump grabs up Nevada and Colorado, or on the converse, like Biden manages to he grabs Texas, he grabs Nevada, he grabs Arkansas and stuff. Neither of these scenarios are legitimate. You would have to have the most astonishing disconnect between the polling numbers and the actual final result for either of these to be the case. The most likely situation is that it is similar to 2016 with a couple states being different. I think that Biden will pick up states above and beyond Hillary, but I don't think it'll be Arizona or Florida or Georgia or any of these. I think Florida will remain Trump. That's a big one. It's been leaning Trump. If the polls are wrong at all, I think that'll favor Trump. I think with the turnout the way it's likely to be, North Carolina and Georgia and Arizona stay Trump. At that point, Biden has to pick up at least 2 states, depending on what the states are. The thing is, it's no longer a sure bet in Pennsylvania, as it might have been a few weeks ago. His fracking comments and some of the riots there, I think, will take a toll. I think that if we look at mail-in ballots, you've got a lot that are requested, but you've got a lot less that are returned. The problem is that that's also advantage Biden. And if only 2/3 of them are returned, isn't he at a loss, technically speaking? The Trump fans are all showing up in person on election day. There'll be basically a Trump parade, according to common knowledge. And if Trump wins, by the way, a lot of these pundits will quit their jobs. And it'll be really funny. And if Biden wins, the next 4 years, the legacy media will be so boring, independent commentators can't help but rise up. It's almost like we can't lose this particular election. I prefer Trump's tax plan. I like the fact that he hasn't started any wars, but it won't end the world if Biden does win. That's a little bit of hyperbole. Everyone does that. They're like, oh, I'm going to move to another country. The Republic is finished if the opponent wins. Both sides say this every election. Let's get over it. You know, nobody's going to move to Canada because their candidate didn't win. They never do, and they never will. Yeah, if Trump wins New Hampshire, it'll be a short night. There's like a 1% chance of that. You would have to have, I think, a 10-point polling discrepancy for that to occur. And it's funny because parts of New England have been actually trending more red, like Vermont, because Bernie Sanders keeps getting abused by the DNC. Actually, in the primaries and stuff, was considerably less blue than before. That could hold over to the general, but it'll go for Biden. The same is true with Maine, but I don't think New Hampshire. New Hampshire is going in the other direction. It's becoming more blue, I believe, actually, over time. Trump will win Nord-Holland. I think Biden's politics would be more common, actually, in parts of Holland. I mean, he's just a neoliberal. Trump's just a populist. There's not even a massive disconnect between them. It's just that Biden hangs out with a bunch of crooks and billionaire legacy media heads, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And he's got a track record of putting weed heads in jail. Well, I used to smoke weed. Biden would have loved to have put me in jail for the fact that I smoked marijuana in college. Trump never cared. He supported medical marijuana, decided that it should be up to the states, and passed the First Steps Act. Yeah, as a former weed head, I think I'll side with Trump on that one. Ironically, Trump, the drug war progressive. Just tell your relatives about that, see how they react. It'll take you 5 minutes to find evidence of it, too. By the way, again, for anyone not recognizing this, I am using Streamyard. Ramsey Paul helped me to set it up. I'm his co-host on Happy Homelands. You should check that out. Definitely subscribe to him on BitChute. So a big shout out to him. I will try to get him on election night. I believe the basic plan is I will be appearing on his stream and he'll be appearing on mine. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not 100% sure of his schedule. So we're going to hammer that out and figure it out on election night. And there are other people that I want to bring aboard. At least 4 of them, I would think, for 15-minute slots. It'll be a little bit more spare than 2016 because I figure that within the first 2 hours, we'll be able to draw a rough extrapolation of the election results. But that could be wrong. We might have to go a third hour. I'm gonna have so much Red Bull. You have no clue. Yeah. No, I'd bring Tim Pool on, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be streaming nonstop. He's I'm sure doing his own thing. It's like Lionel. I tried to get Lionel Nation on in 2016, but he went on RT, so I couldn't get him on because he had his own broadcast to do. Do you find it troubling how they unpersoned Stefan Molyneux? Yes, I do. But I've shouted him out repeatedly. Due diligence where it's due. Stefan Molyneux does a lick of work, and he's one of the big hitters on BitChute. I believe he also is in on Odyssey/Library. So he's doing fine. He's still got a massive audience. Yeah, I mean, think of it. People who had reasonable audiences and got in on alt tech early, which I suggested they do like 2 years ago, they're fine. If they get deplatformed, it just increases their audience on other sites. Who cares? They're still reaching plenty of people. The average YouTuber never gets 15, 20,000 people to watch their video uploads. It never happens. We got to keep that in mind. Alan Lichtman. Oh, yeah, we've got to talk about Alan Lichtman. I disagree with him on his own surmisings with regards to his own metric. I do not believe that there has been a significant domestic scandal. The idea that he got impeached and therefore that ticks that particular mark, I have to disagree with the dude on his own projection. That being said, he could be right. I calculate a 20% Biden win chance, and I've been honest about that. I just think that it's more likely that Trump wins. The idea, though, that I mean, he was wrong before. He was wrong in 2000. Now he brushes that off. He says, "Well, but there was a differentiation between the popular vote and the electoral vote. There was in 2016 too. Trump lost the popular vote by what, 2.5 million votes? But it doesn't matter if Californians hate you because California only has the same amount of electoral votes no matter what happens." By the way, to everyone in chat, please tell me, is my audio doing all right? No feedback, echoes, tinniness. Is it reasonably good? At least like a C+ or a B-, roughly. I need to know that before the election. Audio is fine. Okay, okay. I see like 100 comments. Good. Audio is A-. Yes, B. 4K viewer test. You're not going to get 4K on this stream. I don't even know does YouTube even do 4K streaming? You'd have to have one hell of a beefy connection for that. I'm in Amsterdam. I don't think I could get 4K. We have 4,000 people watching a test stream at this point. This is hilarious. Again, though, I will be broadcasting live on Election Day. I'm still talking to people as far as who I'm going to get aboard. A couple of them are confirmed. A couple of them haven't gotten back. I'll message them later. I'll banter at them and see what I can do. I've got alternates that I may ask as well. And I could do 6 technically. Like we could go for a third hour because if I have someone to bounce off of, it becomes easier. The problem is, like, even though I now know how to use Streamyard, this is great. Thank you, Ramsey. I basically just began using it. I'm going to try to figure it out a little bit more, like just sort of prepare myself mentally for having to use the studio off to the side. Because I mean, in the old Google Hangouts, you just had one tab. It was the broadcast studio. They've changed it completely. I still see comments actually on StreamYard itself, as opposed to just the top chat over here. What happened to Ramsey Paul? He got a strike because he talked about the virus that shall not be named, and he deleted a bunch of things and in order to protect his channel. And unfortunately, that means that the last Happy Homelands the other day he couldn't stream. I think he will be streaming the next one. I don't know if he can actually. In fact, I'm not sure if he can do an election stream. It depends on when the strike expires. But regardless, I'm going to try to have him on. Obviously, if it's a double slot, maybe it's a double slot. That'd be funny. Get to shout out links. And I'll grab links, of course, to all the people that come aboard, because that's important. Especially BitChute links, Odyssey links, stuff like that. Not so much YouTube links at this point. I mean, I'm using YouTube to stream. I'm assuming like Streamyard, maybe we could pressure him into getting a BitChute streaming thing going. That'd be funny. Yeah. To be clear, again, with regards to states, I think Trump keeps Georgia. I think he keeps Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona. Texas, I don't see as particularly on the table. Turnout, I think, takes care of that. It'd be funny, though. Imagine Biden takes Texas but loses a bunch of other states but still gets the election because of Texas. Richard Spencer would be happy. I just don't expect that. I think that Trump will retain most of the states he took. He can lose a couple and still win the election. It will be closer than in 2016. The turnout differential notwithstanding, I believe that Trump will cede a couple of states to Biden. But a couple of states is not enough for Biden to win because Trump won by a large enough margin in the Electoral College. It doesn't matter if he loses the popular vote again. He probably will, by the way. Again, turnout notwithstanding. Now, could come to election night, the Trump turnout differential could never materialize. It could be that Trump does poorly. But all of the indicators that we have is that Biden is mainly picking up very fickle, young, white liberal voters. They do not vote at high levels. Trump, meanwhile, is 5 points or something ahead of where he was with Hispanics, a point or two ahead with black voters. He appears to be doing fine in most suburban areas. If you look at the battleground polls, don't even look at the national polling. Biden is supposedly 10 points ahead. But that doesn't matter if most of that support's coming from California. If you're doing a random smattering around the country, yes, there are parts of the country, very blue areas, urban areas, that have Trump derangement syndrome. It doesn't matter, though. Biden could get literally every man, woman, and child in California to vote for him, have 50 million extra popular votes, and not get a single extra electoral vote. And that really is the problem. The problem with looking at the polling is that there's a huge disconnect, I believe, between the national polling approval averages for Trump and Biden, by the way, and the battleground polls. And also what defines a battleground. Technically speaking, Nevada and Colorado are up for play. I give them to Biden. I'm not expecting Trump to be competitive in those states any more than I'm expecting that Biden has much of a chance at this point to grab Florida. It looks like Florida's Cuban voters have basically made up their mind. They looked at Bernie Sanders' comments about Castro and they decided to drop him like a hot potato. But yes, I will be highly caffeinated on election night. It's going to be a sight to behold. I'll be sitting there twitching. Maybe I'll have a heart attack live and stream. Maybe I'll be like Ron Paul when he had his ischemic attack. It wouldn't even be funny at that point because those are no joke. But yeah, Biden tests negative for POTUS 46. I also find it funny. Like, imagine the idea. Like, imagine Trump does lose. And Biden, of course, he won't run again, whether he lives through his term or not. Imagine Trump comes back and says, "Oh, third time's a charm," and then he's like Grover Cleveland and has a non-consecutive term. Imagine how funny that would be. Yeah, that's another thing. I would love to have Sleazy Martini on board, but I think I'd have to contact his website. He doesn't have his Twitter DMs open, number one. And number two, he does more of the comedy thing, and I'm assuming that he's got to be live streaming on election night himself because he's a funny dude. If you're not watching me, you should be watching Sleazy P. Martini. If you haven't subscribed to Sleazy P. Martini, the manager of Guar, you need to do that. Just fucking trust me. There are a handful of people you should be following, not just me. By the way, full disclosure, Sleazy P. Martini, Ramsey Paul. You should definitely check out anything on BitChute is always a good idea. If a person has been forced to go to BitChute, they have to be cool. If they're no longer allowed on mainline tech and they have to use alt tech, that's an automatic. It's like, imagine you get a blue badge on Twitter if you're vapid and you're boring. You get kicked off of Twitter and all these other sites and have to use alt tech only if you're really, really cool. Like, I'm mostly cool because, I'm the lord of BitChute anyway. But imagine I get kicked off these sites. That'll just make me extra cool. I'll have to put the sunglasses back on and start dressing more like Razorfist does, I guess, at that point. No. What about all the Nazi stuff on BitChute? If you don't like it, don't look it up. It's as simple as that. The liberals used to tell me that back in the 2000s. If you're offended, turn it off. Good line by Cheap Sex, actually, in their song, "I've Been Raped by the FCC." You know, I've been raped by the FCC. Bush would take my freedom from me. I've been raped by the FCC. They want to control what I do and I say. That's real punk, by the way, before it sold out. Yeah. We get almost 4,500 people watching, but at some point I got to, cook dinner. I'm going to be making a massive ass veggie soup. I will probably put pictures on Twitter. Sliced shiitakes, some pak choi. Actually, you have to add that in afterwards. You have to put things in a certain order. You slow cook like the carrots, the celery, add whatever you want. The greens go in usually last, unless you're using like sprouts or something. By the way, I am a cheap bastard when it comes to actually making the broth. I just use a bouillon cube. I know. I take the easy way out on that. Everything else is from scratch. Fresh vegetables, chopped up, cooked in. By the way, you'd kill somebody for my Florentine soup, I think. Except last time that I made it, for some reason it wasn't tomatoey enough. I don't even know what I did wrong. I did it the same way I think that I do it usually. I don't know. When you're doing things from scratch without an actual recipe, sometimes things are a little bit wonky, but they're always edible, at least. I know where it came from. I know that nobody pooped on the food before they handed it to me, so I can't lose. Yeah. Thoughts on Republicans leading the early vote in Nevada? Probably a glitch or an outlier. I don't expect Nevada to go to the Republicans if Trump wins Nevada, because I think it's 5 points for Biden, if I remember correctly. But anyway, yeah, I will be going live election night. I am on StreamYard right now. Please do follow Ramsey Paul, who very graciously helped me to set this up. I'm going to try to get him on board on election night. It's going to be late my time. It's going to be the middle of the night. I'm going to have 2 lamps here, like braziers, like I'm the Pope of Avignon during the Black Plague, and I'm trying to keep the contagion at bay, which is pretty apt considering the pandemic we're in. I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that everything is fine. I'll have the second computer off to the side, sort of in waiting as a placeholder in case anything crashes on the main one. But this is an Alienware. It is extremely overpowered, and it should be able to do everything that I need it to do. I play Fallout 4 heavily modded on it all the time. And by the way, that's the best game ever. I know that's unpopular. But yeah, I'm going to exit the stream now. And I've got to actually give me a moment here, because I think you end the broadcast on StreamYard itself. So this will probably drop it back off. So peace out.